Appreciate the subject.
Okay, now this is a kind of the question we should talk about tonight. Is the question of how do I come up with my position, or is there a basis for my position, or is there anybody argues on my position that Baalei Teshuvah can adopt any Minhagim they want and pick and choose Minhagim as they so please. Okay? So here's a post from beyondbt.com which sums up a little bit of the question. Gebrux or non-Gebrux, that is the question. Pesach is in the air, and here's a blast from the past. First published on April 6, 2006. Okay? In any event, we can skip that. Being kosher seemed like a good way to be a true Jew. So I called the local Chabad house, and a nice man came and did the job. He finished, turned to go, and I asked him what I was allowed to eat. He sketched out the basic symbols and wrote Chol Yisrael and Pas Yisrael on the bottom. I had no clue what they meant, but Na'aseh v'nishma, knowing nothing, I was machmir to only buy products listing these words. Then Pesach approached. I called the same friendly man who told me to only buy things that said non-Gebrux. End of conversation. Thus began my Pesach minhag. Although less naive about minhagim, my husband's approach is always, when in doubt, you can't go wrong by following the strictest guidelines. Living in Muncie, it's no problem being Chol Yisrael. But Gebrux gets us down year after year. Pesach is perhaps the most resonant yontif for most of us. I grew up gleefully eating on Yom Kippur, oblivious to Shabbos, but with a strange nostalgic attitude about Pesach. We always had some facsimile of a Seder. In speedy English and occasional bouts of broken Yiddish, my father attempted to imitate his father's Seder, while the kids snuck more and more Manischewitz. I didn't really chap the point of his strange ritual. What lasted and lasted in my memory was the matzah b'yom pancakes. What an utter disappointment to make tshuva and resurrect Passover, and then find that the totem of my memory was taboo on the earth of itself. You can't have matzah b'yom pancakes if you're not eating gebrux. Okay? For us, Yekis, the correlation is I actually don't do this anymore, but this popular Yekka dish is matzah broken into coffee.
Sounds delicious.
It's like in lieu of cereal. You make coffee very sweet and milky, and you stick in like 5 matzahs into a cup.
That sounds delicious.
It is delicious.
Let's go wine.
I do it with wine.
Wine works too.
Sweet wine.
Soup is made.
Okay. The concept in Minhagim is an uncomfortable one for BT. We all have them, but they were buried in the generations of assimilation. Who knew what would be lost back when my great-grandfathers davened next to the FFB's great-grandfathers in the Shtetl Shul? Who knew that I only one of dozens of my ancestors' progeny who would regret history and devote their life to piecing back together the broken line? What of our history is kosher? Yes, I grew up eating gebrux, but I also grew up eating BLTs and dating non-Jews. Practices that I'm most definitely not going to pass down to my children, or so she hopes. How can VTs sort out our legitimate fossils? Knowing that my grandparents emigrated from there, is it okay to research Lithuanian Jewry and then adopt the custom of those from Jews? How much has survived in my DNA? Is it because I'm a Yekshi that I'm on time, or because I grew up inculcated with a Protestant work ethic? Does aping the actions of mentors or emulating the habits of sages create a meaningful tradition? What about when there are several legitimate practices? Why do I have to tough out the minor fast days my FFB female friends eat or only fast half a day, just like their mothers did? Must he also shun garlic on... A lot of FFB women only fast half a day on the minor's fast. Or not at all. What?
Is it halakhic practice besides Hasidim? I know they have something else, but...
Well, Reb Chaim Brisker, he was very paranoid about Pikuach Nefesh, so he actually himself didn't fast at any time except for Teshuvah and Yom Kippur.
But nowadays, since we actually have nutritious meal every other day, potentially speaking, fast won't kill you, so you still all the same thing?
It's not a question of whether it will or will not at this point, because it became established as a minhag by them. Now, I think it's a mistaken minhag, but it is a minhag, which they think, just like davening Mincha after
This
Tzeis.
is the verse behind verse.
What?
Sources of halacha.
I didn't know this was an option. Could I not take it on?
No, it's only for women. Only counts for women.
I don't remember that.
And the rabbi.
Yeah, real briskers, yes. To do this, you have to keep Shabbos till basically Tuesday, so you can. It doesn't. there are trade-offs here. Okay. So, must you also shun garlic on Pesach because 2 centuries it was transport alongside grain, and so became some families practice not to use it. At what age should I put away the Bobby socks and hold my preschool up to the sneer standards of the big girls? How do we answer with conviction when our kids ask which way our family holds?
What's this sock business,
What?
Bobby socks in preschool. What's that all about?
When girls get to school in the right-wing community, they have to wear knee highs.
What's knee high?
Socks, so we have the sock, at least.
Why do they have to wear that?
What?
Why is that necessary?
For chinuch reasons, they impose on them those standards.
Is it snow? It's not. There's nothing to snow. So what's the?
At that age, it's not necessarily required, but they do because of chinuch.
For what? What's the thing of putting up?
To teach them that that's the type of sneers they should be observing.
But what sneers is there in covering your under your?
No, there's a shita that the shok, which is supposed to be covered, is not the thigh, but rather the calf. It's following that shita.
There's an extra homework.
Yes. Okay.
And to say, if I don't hold those homeworks for my kids, like they won't be able to go to school.
What?
They will not accept.
Right. How do we answer? It's kind of scary. Now, this last paragraph is indeed scary. At what point does twisting open the soda bottles on Shabbos more from a habit to a tradition to an immovably holy practice that we pass down from generation to generation? I think this actually happened already. I think people now have Minhagim to open bottles on Shabbos and Minhagim not to open bottles on Shabbos. It's irrelevant to actual halacha in this case because but people just have smay minhag. So it actually has happened that has become the.
So she just raised the question. She didn't put the answer.
She doesn't put the answers. No, if you go to that site and Beyond BT, there are a bunch of people who give various different answers, not authoritative necessarily. Okay.
Necessarily not authoritative.
Now, so let's go to page 2.
You're gonna answer her question.
Did you
What?
have a question?
You're gonna answer.
Yeah.
You're gonna answer her
Let's go to page 2.
Are you going to link to this video on your
What?
response? You're going to respond with the link to this video?
No. Maybe I will. I don't know. Yeah. No, it's about Minhagim for Baalei Teshuvah.
Okay.
The question whether a Baal Teshuvah has to accept Gebrach. No, but this one, see, you missed the whole thing.
Read the first.
This woman was Makura by Chabad, and they told her she has to keep her book. That she has to. That was quick.
Which is
No, you should take one of these.
she's a Chabad. She gave her Chabad keep. I'm sorry.
That's what
She's not Chabad anymore.
Well, then she's finished.
Okay, now. It's from a different website. From Teens. From Teens is a little bit of a controversial website. Because
They say whatever they want.
because the moderator is a Satmar, has a Satmar Chassid basically. So
Why is it access to the internet?
what?
Why is it access?
He's not a real Satmar Chassid, but he has Satmar sympathies. He's a big Talmud Chacham, but he's very big Kanoi, very anti-Israel. Yeah.
That's about it. But everything else is good.
That I kind of want to say because I don't want to recommend or not recommend. But so somebody posted this on his website. Okay, this is a post from a Dr. Rick Kramer. Says converts of Baalei Teshuvah are in 2 different categories. This is not true what he writes. Okay, this is this guy's notion. While Gerim can pick their minhag after consulting their Rav, BTs must search back in the past as to what their minhag would be if their family continued the traditions.
I've heard of this.
For example, if the father's father, etc., grandfather came from Vilna, then he would be Litvish, Lithuanian, and David Ashkenaz, etc.
That's Rabbi Reich how he feels about this.
Okay, this is not true.
Rabbi Reich was defended from the village.
Not true.
So what's the alternative?
We're getting.
Was it just a class?
Okay.
No, it's the response side. This is the response side.
So the response here is from Eli Linas, who's actually an old email buddy of mine. I haven't corresponded with him in a long time though. This is absolutely incorrect. absolutely incorrect. He's right. I just did all this today, so I didn't.
No, you didn't tell them this idea.
No.
Self-sufficient.
Baalei Teshuvah have absolutely no obligation whatsoever to follow their family customs. Once the chain of observance is broken in their family, they are free to choose which custom they wish to follow. Of course, many are probably more comfortable choosing their family's customs, and probably do so, and this is praiseworthy, but it is not incumbent upon them. Okay? So,
Like I just translated Halakha.
So this, whoever posted this on Frum Teens asked the moderator of Frum Teens, moderator, I'm really confused here about which is correct. Are there sources to support each viewpoint? I mean, who decides this stuff? Are there any writings? I like that language. Who decides this stuff? Okay. So the moderator answered as follows. Usually, but not always, the Baal Teshuvah will be under no obligation to follow the Minhagim of his ancestors. Here's how this works. The Gemara Pesachim 50b says that when a community accepts a minhag, that minhag is binding on their descendants as well. This later on comes up in the handout. There was a community called Baishon, if I recall correctly, in what's today's southern Lebanon. And they had in their community a minhag not to travel on boat, by boat on Erev Shabbos. What? No, local. It was not a long sea trip. Yeah, go fishing, whatever it was. So they wanted to cancel this minhag because they needed to make the money, whatever the case may be. So they came to.
Did they all just forbid and nobody did it? And the minhag started, nobody just did it? Or
what? No, their parents did it. Their parents did it.
Forbid? They say don't do it.
Yeah,
People are doing
take a look on page 4. Take a look on page 4. Page 4 of the handout. Okay, it says, B'Gemara in the Teshuvah, it says, third paragraph, B'Gemara Pesachim Nuna Beis, B'nei Beishon, Nagu, their minhag was Lo Avu Azim Yitzor L'Tzidim Amali Shabto. They wouldn't sail from Sidon to Tyre on Erev Shabbos. So they went and they asked I forget which of the Tanoim Amroim they asked. They wanted to be Mebatel the minhag. So whoever they asked, I think it was sticks them on my Ram Gamliel, but I'm not sure if that's the case. So he said, no, Kvar Kiblu Avoseichem Aleihem. Your forefathers already accepted this. Shnei Amar, it says, Shma B'ni Musar Avicha, listen, my son, to the Musar of your father, V'altito Shor Simecha, and do not forsake the Torah of your mother. Which is this? Yeah, which part of the pasuk refers to? Minhagim.
the Ima part.
The Ima part, right? Torah Simecha. Upasuk HaShulchan Aruch Yeredes in Reish Yudal Siv Beis, Kabbalas HaRabim Chala Alehem V'al Zaram. The acceptance of the masses is incumbent upon them and on their descendants.
If they still live in the same area?
What?
If they still live
If they still live in the same area, certainly. But if they move as one body, also. And, of course, this is the yesod, according to the Rambam, really, of our acceptance of Talmud Bavli. Why Talmud Bavli retains its authority even if we don't like it. Because once there's universal acceptance, that universal acceptance is incumbent upon all people for all time. Okay? So getting back here. Back to page 2. The Gemara 750b says that when a community accepts a minhag, minhag is binding on descendants as well. But there are those who hold that this is only the children began to follow the custom themselves, even without an official commitment. Take a look back on page 4. It says, in the next paragraph, the custom b'shayas tshuva zichron Yosef Yeredesim Yebei Yudalid v'ur piskei tshuva some siv cotton beis she'ena ben chayiv l'sneg minhagi aviv. A son does not have to follow his father's minhagim zulas except mashisnai gama ben me'oshigdil. Only that which the son followed once he grew up. Shirgilu avosav l'leches darcheim, after his fathers had accustomed him to follow their ways. V'havi kenadru gamazara, and then it's a neder which is for their children as well. Ulachi chayim l'asos takonos, and that's why I have to like the takona. Masha enke, this is not true. Ima ben lo hischil hisnaheg me'olam k'minhag atov shaviv. If the son never accepted his father's good minhag, ein haben mechuyav lisnaeg b'prishus lahu. Ad kan. The son is not required to accept that chumrah upon himself.
Say that again, like this.
I'll say it outside. The Zichron Yosef says that there's a catch in this. The only time the children are locked into their father's minhag is if they accepted it at some time in their life when they're ready each reach the age of majority. That locks them into the minhag. But if they never accepted it upon themselves, right? When they reach the age of the bar mitzvah, they said, we renounce this minhag of our forefathers. Then they're not bound to it.
Yeah, but
They have to know about this.
This is not halacha. This is minhag, right?
But you have to know about this.
what 13-year-old boy's gonna know this?
Yeah.
That's a problem. You're right.
They're gonna force it.
But it's the same thing with gerus. Gerus also the same thing of a katan, this is the model. If you have a kid who's adopted and he was converted as a child, he can protest at 13. After 13, that's it. It's over. It's too late. No, 13.
1 year.
No, 1 day. Maybe even less.
The day he turned 13.
But how can
He davids Mayev, it's over.
Wait, but that's
He answers Baruch Hu, maybe it's over.
But how can he doesn't know what's the other side? He doesn't know what's. They didn't explain. Listen, there's such thing as McDonald's, there's such thing as Subways, and such thing as
Hey,
nightclubs.
life is not fair.
Music and
So
movies.
he doesn't have
You're like, oh, do you want to do what mommy and dad has been doing with you for the rest of your life?
Right.
Now, you want to see the other world.
Life is tough that way.
the average 13-year-old boy doesn't know this. So
Right.
after like 10 years, he finally finds out about it.
Too late now.
What?
Now if he changes, it's gonna burn.
But if you practice a chumrah and you find out if you practice a chumrah and you find out that it's just a chumrah and you don't want to take it on as a chumrah anymore, then can't you take the?
That but depends. If you're tapping into something pre-existing, if you did, no.
What do you mean?
In this case, right? If the children found out that the minhag that they had been keeping for 15 years was a chumrah, too bad.
What can they do on the Zarim?
No,
But if you're Masubi,
because it's a minhag hamakom.
No, if it's a minimum.
It's a minhag hamakom,
If
yeah.
you're Sephardi, basically, this is not for you. You're basically school.
What?
If you're
What?
Sephardi.
What's that do with Sephardi Ashkenazi?
Because Sephardi have a problem with traditions, regardless whether or not they're practiced on at home.
That is tough for Sephardim, yeah. That's true.
What?
He says Sephardim, even if they're not frum, they still have minhagim.
Yeah.
But
6 hours.
I don't know if that counts. If you don't believe in God and you have a minhag, I'm not sure that counts.
They
either.
believe in God. They believe in God. They just don't think that they got to do all that much for Him.
Okay, in any event, so what we just saw is basically one. I'm going to do it again inside again. So there are those who hold that this is only the children began to follow custom themselves, even without an official commandment. But if they never even began to follow the custom, they have no obligation to begin doing so. According to this, Bali Teshuvah would not be obligated to follow their parents' customs. Number two, the Gemara is only discussing children remain in the community where their parents accepted the minhag. If it does not say that children who leave the community are obligated to follow their former community's minhagim. In fact, we know that's not true. If you move from a community where people are more stringent to a community where people are more lenient, then you can, even Sephardim, take on the new minhag.
3
right?
hours.
3 hours. If you move to Washington Heights, I don't know if it's worth it to move to Washington Heights, but then you could take on 3 hours. Yes?
Where's the
So if I were to move,
What?
Where's the Dutch community?
The Dutch community in Amsterdam. Yeah.
so if I were to move to Washington Heights, I could keep 3 hours.
It's possible. Oh, well, it depends which side of Washington Heights, not the YU side.
Oh, okay, let's say on the Yiddish side, right? Go there for like a year.
You have to be there for a
Or
year.
is it
30 days is
does it matter if
30
it's a
days.
permanent move or temporary?
30 days.
And then
Does
you
it matter
can,
if it's a permanent move or a temporary move?
It has to be for at least a year. After 30 days, you should be there for, and you have to be there for a year.
But if you already I'm sorry, listen. Like, if you already picked, like, let's say Yossi's case, right? He's been on Sameya. He's been keeping 6 hours.
I've
And
been
he's
keeping 6
gonna
hours since childhood.
Okay,
It
fine.
doesn't work.
Okay. So why all of a sudden
change
can you just change it?
No, see the because it's changing milk. The catch is though, if you ever move out of Washington Heights, you lose it.
It's not worth it. Yes.
When you move out,
What?
you can't take it with you.
No, because this is a minhag. This is a minhag which is 6 hours, and 6 hours is so universal. Unless you start out with 3 hours
Or one.
or one, then which unfortunately not. So then you can't really go back to go back down to 3.
Why?
You had that choice. You had that choice.
Okay. No, so
Wait, so there's no way around me doing 3 hours, 6 hours, is there? If I mean, because like I'm Baal Teshuvah, but at the same time I kept 6 hours when I was a kid.
listen, if you take upon yourself other Yekashem Minhagim, you can do it.
So I could also not.
Like you gotta wash your hands before Kiddush and stuff.
You'd have to find a way to, somebody to convert you, like Rabbi Vadia does, to convert people to Spartanism. Okay, which we're coming to. If someone came to America, say after the war, it is questionable whether he is obligated to follow his old Minhagim. Rabbanan have been accustomed to tell immigrants to follow their old Minhagim. But I believe this was more sound advice than a halachic mandate. In other words, once people came to America and to Eretz Yisrael, the same thing, according to most poskim, it's just like a tossed salad, right? Everybody got tossed together, and you can pick and choose Minhagim, right? So this is true, for example, Sfiras Omer. It's a classic example. In America, you get to choose which part of Sfiras Omer you keep. The chumrah of not shaving, listening to music. You don't have to be consistent either, because there's no established minhag hamakom. There's one minhag not to shave.
Yeah,
Every year you can pick and choose a different one.
Which 33 days you want to keep? You can choose.
What?
Which 33 days you want to not?
No, it's much more than 2 or 3 days.
33 days.
Which 33?
Which 33?
There's two.
Oh, 33 you said, I'm sorry. Yeah, which 33?
Which one? There's two.
Yeah.
Starting from one.
Yes.
So every year I
When
can choose to not to give 33 days from a different date?
Yeah.
Based on what? Even if I'm a
There's no minhag kavua in America. Both minhagim are equally valid.
But I have a shulad daven, say every day. So then does it change anything?
No. It's not a shul minhag.
Down to 49.
Is it minhag of nothing?
It's a minhag of the person, yeah.
So I can have them in and just not do it?
No.
So I could,
If there was a strong... See, that's the difference between the 3-hour thing and the Sphero thing. 3-hour thing is a very small minority minhag. What you could do, see, is you can start the campaign, the 3-hour campaign. Because if we get it up to, like, good percentages, like even 40, 60, so then it becomes like the Sfiras Omer thing, right? Which says 2 valid minhagim, you can choose whichever one you want. The problem is right now, the 3-hour people are an oppressed minority. So therefore, it's hard to join them. Yeah, it seems dying out, yes. Okay? Okay, so if these people are not religious, then their children who are growing up in a completely different community than that which accepted minhag in the first place, has 0 obligation to follow that minhag. It may be a good idea for him to do so anyway, but if there are problems, such as he grows up in the yeshiva where the minhagim are different than those of his ancestors, he can truly accept the minhagim of his educators. Okay, so if you are a Baal Teshuvah who comes to Or Sameach and you decide I want to be Ashkenaz, or you come to Tiferet Torah and you decide you want to be Sfard, so
you have to choose who you want.
that's its name, right? Tiferet Torah.
Yeah. You can't pick and choose. You have to choose one and stick with it. That's what it sounds like.
No.
That's what you just said.
No.
Is it like a menu a la carte, or you have to like pick the whole meal that comes with like?
Yeah.
A la carte. Minhag by minhag.
Like you order this meat, and this meat comes with this vegetable, and this salad, and this dessert.
But I think within davening, like you can't say Baruch Shamar before Hodu and then say Naritzach v'Nagdishach in Kedusha. Within the davening, it has to be consistent, I believe. There are limitations here. Okay. Okay. So turning to page 3. You think it's on page 2,
Wait,
right?
you say with the davening it has to be consistent, but if you're starting can you pick between like Adrian Mizrach versus like the Turkish Ladino, or if you're Ashkenazi between the...
Yeah, you can do that.
You're Persian.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with a Hasidic boy becoming Litvish when you're trying to set him.
You got a beautiful
No.
Persian face and a.
In terms of what? In terms of Minhagim, yes. But not in terms of halachas. Because if they're actually halachic perspectives.
Like
Right.
davening at 10, 11?
Well, yeah. Like, let's say you decide you want...
He can daven at 7.
Yeah, I think if you're Ashkenaz, you decide, you're non-Hasidic, and you decide, I want to become Hasidic so I can daven a chakras at 11 in the morning every day. Right? So, you can't do that. No, because that's...
Not a lot of people do.
Yeah, because that is halacha. That those people think it's a minhag is their mistake, but you can't follow their mistake.
Well, who thinks? Oh, the Hasidim think it's not.
Yeah.
It's obviously not.
So, but a chassid could choose to be Ashkenaz.
Yes, although they never would. But yes.
Breslov.
Well, I mean, you can get rid of the beard and pay us.
What?
You cut the beard, shave the beard and all. I mean, if you shave the beard anywhere else, they'll throw you out, no?
Yeah, but the thing is, if you want later in life, let's say, to join Breslov, I mean, people do this all the time. They come Lubavitchers or Breslovers or whatever, later in life, and they decide we're joining this community whole hog. So then they'll go and drop all the previous minhagim and adopt those minhagim. That's why you have Sephardi Lubavitchers, Yemenite Lubavitchers, Moroccan Lubavitchers, right? It's a tragedy, in my opinion, but that's what they do.
Agreed.
Okay, so now let they.
Why can they do that?
Because they hold that this is like a new makom, joining a new group, social group.
You have to actually lead your own group, go to there.
Right.
Not lead.
Why would you be allowed to do that whenever that means you will no longer be praying Shachrit on Shabbat and Islam?
What? That's a mistake.
Are you allowed to do that even if you're like still living in Square?
That's a mistake. What?
Like if the Square Chassid were to like learn this whole entire halacha, like read through the Shulchan Aruch and go, oh wait, we're not allowed to do this, and I'm starting to have misgivings about this whole frustration thing. Could they like become like Yekish while living in Square? Or
No, Square will keep them out.
no, I mean, assuming they still stay in Square, would that present beyond the social problems? Would that present any halachic problems? Living in one place and practicing them and adopting the minhagim from another.
Yes, but generally speaking, when you're adopting a chumrah,
Yeah.
it's not a problem. But yeah, in Square you get kicked out. They probably would start protesting when you're out.
Beyond the social problems, any halachic
No.
problems like okay.
No. Only if you do it publicly and try to flaunt the English room card.
So a girl that grows up in Satmar, at 12 years old, she's like, okay, I'm Satmar, fine, that's all right by me. And then when she gets married, she realizes that they have a shank her hair, and she's like, oh, I didn't want to do that. I know.
Oh, so you see, that's
Nobody
what's
told me about that, you know. So.
one of the advantages of being a woman is that when you get married, you get just like a Baal Teshuvah to pick and choose. You only have two options: your previous minhag and your husband's minhag. So yes, that is an advantage.
But if you marry
It's a choice, it's not his choice.
What?
What she's married-
She still has a choice.
It's not his
What
choice.
Her husband might divorce her, but she still has a choice.
I thought it was his choice.
What choice is that? What choice is that?
What?
What choice does she have?
To shave her hair or not shave her head?
How's that a choice? It's a minhag. She has to do it.
No, but she has her own minhagim.
Yeah, her father's been
Oh, she's Satmar. Her minhag is to shave also.
But what's his minhag?
Obviously,
Also to shave.
Okay, so then she has no choice. Right.
She didn't know that she was going into this until she...
She did. She saw her mother's
Has
wife.
she?
No, she did. 13, 12,
They don't
whatever.
think
They don't read like what it means. What?
They all know.
At 12?
Yes.
If we know, they know.
So they know what.
That
That they have to shave their heads.
They don't realize what it means until they grow up. They're like, okay, it's a cool thing to do. It's like
When
being
my
five.
mom dealt with it,
It's like being an astronaut, you know? It's a cool thing to do when you're 5, but when you realize, it's like, I don't know.
You will find that there will be, Minhagim, ultimately, there is flexibility. So they will be able to find a Rav who will say, Shalom Bayis, she doesn't have to shave her head.
And now she can't get married in their graveyard.
Reb Moshe, in fact, said so.
Yeah, my motion is not Hasidic.
Right, that's why he said it.
Then they'll say, Tzedek can't be married next to Russia, she can't get married in our graveyard.
Okay, so that's her choice. Okay, let's go on. However, there is an establishment of community minhag here in America, for instance. Say the Paul is a ger chassid, and they have clear established minhagim. Then the Paul is accepted that minhag will qualify as a new minhag amakom. This is what we're just talking about. If you want to decide you want to join Breslov, right? And be binding as descendants as well, as long as someone does not leave the Gera community. Now, that shouldn't have anything to do with Baal Teshuvah. But there are two types of Baal Teshuvah. There's the type of Baal Teshuvah which we've called the Avram Avinu type, who starts from nowhere and comes to Judaism. And then there's the guy who went OTD and comes back. The guy who went OTD and comes back, he doesn't get a blank slate. Right? That's the next paragraph. So let's say the son of a Ger Chassid went OTD, and his grandson became about Teshuvah. If the father went over there to not leave the community, despite his going off the derech, I don't know, it's pretty cool to still be a Ger even though you're off the derech. You know, the derech I'm off is the Ger derech. Yeah, the Lubavitchers do the time, that's true. Yeah.
What?
They'll fry out, but they'll still identify as Chabad, they'll still live in the Chabad community, and their kids might even be religious.
Yeah, it's like fallen
Is
Catholics.
this like Sephardim basically? Is this Sephardim or no?
Yeah, it's kind of like Sephardim, right?
Yeah.
The Sephardim drive to Shul on Shabbos, same idea, yeah. The derech I fell off is the Sephardi derech. In other words, the Minhagim family is obligatory only if it qualifies as a Minhag HaMakom. But familiar Minhagim are not intrinsically binding at all. Okay? So,
Again?
it's not because it's a family Minhag. It's because it's a Minhag HaMakom.
Wait, so if I came to Queens and there's no Minhag HaMakom, but I felt like, oh, this is a party thing to do, keep 6 hours or a party thing to do, right? And that's what I did for the rest for my at least for a certain part of my life. I knew that that's one of the things to do, even though I'm not kept it, but I knew that was 6 hours. So now I'm becoming about Teshuvah, that has changed. Even though I thought it was a familiar Minhag, but it's not the Minhag HaMakom, I guess.
Well,
Oh, it is Minhag.
if you still identify with the Bukhara community,
Yeah.
you can change. You can go and identify from now on with the Litvisher community.
Yeah, okay.
You know, the depressed people of the world unite. So it was just a marshal. So
Inside joke, if you will.
then you would not have to.
No, but if I don't want to do that, I just don't want to keep us from the Minhag.
Yeah, that's your spit stock. Yeah.
So speaking of Minhag HaMakom, but what if like they have Yemenite customs? What if there's just no Jews left in Yemen? So could you still have Yemenite customs?
Yeah, but the Yemenite Kehillah still.
But in New York, it's not like a Kehillah.
What?
In New York, it's not a Kehillah.
Yes, but they're social. They're still, even though it's not one. It's not that there are no kehillos. There's no unified kehillah. There are many small kehillos.
Okay.
Okay, so you can latch onto any one of them that you want.
Consciously. But you could pick and choose also.
Right. In a minute, in something which is not Baal Tshuva can always pick and choose. Talk about FFB, when somebody already made decisions. Then, in order to change Minhagim, it's harder. He's got to re-affiliate himself. Is that clear?
Completely.
Yes. Is that clear?
Okay, now.
When you become religious, then
By the way, there's another way to do it, which is, let's say, although most people will not do this, let's say you kept Gebrachts, right? And you became big time Chacham. And then you just went into the issue and you decided this is an unnecessary minhag. Then you can renege on it.
What's the key point there?
What?
Coming out of
That's not true.
Tam Chacham,
So
yeah.
how big of a
But Rai
customs do
says
you have to be?
What?
If you read into it and you go,
it seems
you can't you can't just do him and
It's tough because it's hard to know when you're being honest with yourself and not being honest with yourself.
You're right.
I'm talking about hypothetically.
I was reading that.
I think we've had this discussion before.
I think I
Certainly have a sense of deja vu. Yeah.
I think that Avshitz is
The
that.
B'yana Saivshitz?
I think he wrote that the Minhag of Kitnayas is like a really bad
Kitnayas.
Kitnayas, yeah. And it's really wrong. And if I had any power to abolish it, I would, but I don't.
Right.
So he probably wanted to restrict it. He felt this is not right in the Minhag, and yet he didn't abolish the Minhag. He kept with it.
And about the
So,
Because there's no Ashkenazic community which doesn't keep kidneys.
So in New York, in America, though.
But it seems like
But there are many Ashkenazic communities which don't keep gebrachs.
it doesn't seem like that's a chumrah though. It seems more like it's a leniency because the Gemara says to eat rice on Pesach.
Or it says to eat rice.
Yeah, it says well, you can eat on Pesach rice.
Okay.
So can about Teshuvah choose not to keep kidneys?
Yes.
So he can eat kidneys if he wants to.
Yeah.
You got
Okay.
it.
Too late.
How are we defining a Machlin here? Are we defining it as a country?
Not geographical.
Okay, so within individual actual communities, but like if you're living in like a specific country, I mean like Italy, you're gonna follow of course like
Yes, that is.
Yes, because Italy still has, probably, I don't know, So the concept of makom. A small country will have that concept. America, Israel, they don't have that concept.
Okay.
Our normal Shabbat food is all kosher based.
Okay, and like, what about communities that
The only
were
thing we check out is
transplanted, like certain communities from that are in Brazil now, from Portugal, or
Yes, they would retain them in Minhagim wherever they went.
would that be the same
We have potatoes.
idea as
It's not in
makom?
mass. It's not the only thing we eat anymore.
Brother, so what's the halakha to some like
We're not waiting for halacha yet. We're still in the middle.
My question
I have one
was,
more.
when you don't know about all of this, right? You've heard of this, but you know how true this all this was. So you became religious about Teshuvah, and you did the Baal Teshuvah thing to do that everybody else
You
did.
didn't know you could pick a la carte.
Yeah, you know you fell apart, and now you realize, well,
I messed up.
I messed up. you know?
totally, right?
So is there still room for?
It depends how many years have passed by. I think there is some flexibility. We have to discuss it privately.
When does the Nadarim fall into any of this?
They're all
When can you just
packets.
like change the Minhagim?
What?
What do you do to change Minhagim? Nadarim.
Hataras Nadarim? Usually not.
Okay.
Usually not. It's usually something where you didn't deliberately accept something upon yourself.
Okay, but you deliberately accepted something upon yourself before you knew all the information.
And then you can say, then you can be Matan on it.
Alright.
Like if you're about Teshuvah and you didn't know this, Shlomo, this is what he's asking. If you're about Teshuvah and you didn't know that you could have picked and choose, and had you known you would not have picked this minhag, then you can get those people to be Matan for you.
That's how I got 1 hour.
Okay? Now, don't be jealous.
I'm having trouble believing this. I think the only one in the room that keeps like 6 hours.
You're the only one.
Probably is too. Alright.
So, next, now, Rav Ovadia is, of course, Rav Ovadia. Rav Ovadia, if nothing is not consistent in his ongoing belief that everyone in the world should be a Sephardi. So,
When you're right, you're right.
Rav Avram Yosef, the chief rabbi of Cholon and son of Rav Ovadia, is a very clear orator and has great ability to break down the halacha he is discussing in a clear and direct manner. And he is an expert of all areas of halacha, and both the psak and minhag of Sfaradim and of Ashkenazim. Anybody who has heard his talks on the radio knows that.
Oh, you know? You've heard of him?
No. Rav Avram Yosef is now following his father's footsteps and promoting the psika, the system of psak, of the Sfaradim, according to the Beit Yosef, as the overruling authority in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yosef recently said that while everyone should adhere to the customs of his ancestors, and therefore Ashkenaz should follow Minhagi Ashkenaz, Sfarad should follow Minhagi Sfarad, which is not like his father. He's more modern than his father. That only applies to religious people who have religious parents who kept those Minhagim and Piskei Halacha. Anyone who's about Teshuvah, one whose parents who are not religious, and they themselves did not adhere to the Minhagim and Psakim, if such a person would become religious and start keeping Minhagim and Halacha, even an Ashkenazi person would need to keep the Sephardic Halacha and Minhagim.
Would need not to keep this?
It's a typo. No, it's supposed to be need to.
You sure there's a...
Yeah. Would need to keep the Sephardic Halacha and Minhagim, as such a person has no ancestral custom to follow. He must accept the Sephardi custom, which is the overruling authority in Eretz Yisrael.
When is it Israel or
In Eretz
In Eretz Yisrael, yeah.
Would it be Ashkenaz?
No, in America would be neither.
I mean, but like really from like a practical standpoint, if a person's like a Meir, it would be just obscenely hard to like become Sephardi or become Hasidic as compared to becoming Ashkenaz. Because like pretty much every single shul is Ashkenaz here in America.
Pretty much every shul.
Yeah.
What about in Queens?
Queens is the exception, but like.
What about in Brooklyn?
No, because you're looking at it from like a very big New York centric standpoint.
Brooklyn's a dangerous
outside of
place
like New York State, I'm talking like Atlanta
There's
or
a
like-
Sephardic shul in Atlanta.
because there's one in Atlanta, one in Seattle, but outside of Atlanta and
Two in
Seattle.
Seattle.
Chicago.
Because outside of Atlanta and Seattle, basically every other American city is defaults to Ashkenaz.
It's not true. In Chicago, there are a couple of them also.
At least,
Listen,
at least 51% is up.
but you're right. It's easier to become Ashkenaz, but it's not like he holds in Eretz Yisrael for a different reason. Why? Because in Eretz Yisrael, since the Sephardim were there first, so therefore everybody really should be. So Ravadia writes, right?
They kind of ruled the place for a long
The
time.
Sephardim, there were no Ashkenaz in Eretz Yisrael until the 1700s.
Arizal.
Right.
Oh, Arizal.
What? He converted.
You get spoiled.
Yeah. So so Rav Ovadia holds like the Shitos that each Ashkenazi who came should have been Bato Barov of the Sfardim, and they should have taken on Sfardim Minhagim. So Rav Avram Yosef is saying, okay, so they didn't, but let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater, as they say. It's only therefore people who are from, who can latch on to a chain of Ashkenaz, even though they really should be Sfardim. But since there is an Ashkenazic strain, they can latch on to that. But if you have no strain, if you have no continuous chain, so then if you're in Eretz Yisrael, Sfardi.
How different are we
It's
talking
Sephardi,
about? Like, if you
how
follow the
long
Shulchan Aruch as your main guide, I mean, the difference between being
No.
Ashkenaz or being Sephardi
See,
is just a matter of like the way you daven.
No, it's huge. Can you write some place out?
Yes, kidneys is a very big thing. And the big thing according to Rav Ovadia, don't forget, is Machmir. And even though the Sfardim will argue with him, he's Machmir on Shetels. That's big.
Did he say something about wearing?
Okay.
What did he say about wearing a shirt?
That's big.
Okay.
He's like,
But
His own Rebbe, by the way, Paskin it's mutter. Rav Ovadia Hadaya. Who's Rav Ovadia Yosef's Rebbe, Hal Shetels were mutter for Sfardim.
so he holds it, she'll wear it to hell.
What?
So he holds, she'll wear it to hell.
I don't know, mate. I don't know if you ever met his Rebbe's Rebbitzin. Yeah.
I mean, look, really outside of the Shulchan, I mean, within like the bounds of the Shulchan Aruch, though, I mean, there's a lot of similarities between the two.
Of course, a lot of similarities.
Overwhelming similarities that like any differences are like really not so much. I mean, you mentioned kidneyot is a big thing, but like it's not even that pushing within.
It's not even the biggest one.
It's last kosher.
What's the biggest detriment to being a Sfardi?
No, Slichot is so much fun, Rabbi.
Slicha.
So much
It's a
fun.
misconception of it.
It's
It's
so
the
much
best thing
fun.
to have.
Yeah, it's such a fun. We sing songs, we're not crying like you guys, we're having a party.
He was singing songs at 5 in the morning, though.
I don't know about you,
So
but I was
much
waking up
prepared for
at 7
Rosh
here.
Hashanah.
Oh, it's at 7
No,
o'clock here?
actually-
So forget it. That's
No, there's a 3 o'clock. There's a 3 o'clock meeting in Queens at Torah, and a 5 o'clock also.
Since Smicha has
5 p.m.
put on hold, real Smicha, how much authority do rabbis have in telling you what Minhagim you should follow?
only authority of logic. There is a logic to this.
It's like, let's say once a rabbi tells you to do something, you should do it. But actual Smicha is
No, actually, Smicha is basically that he has some sort of license to paskin without going to his own rebbe. That's what Smicha means. Hetzerah means you can now paskin without going to your own rebbe. If all your rebbeim are dead, you don't need really Smicha because you don't have anybody to turn to anyway. And even if they're not dead, there's that could be like the Ramah writes, Sfarim are rebbeim, so we don't need Smicha. But what it does for you, for a layperson, is the great advantage of going to a Rav is that if anybody burns in hell, it'll be the Rav. That's the advantage of having a rabbi. Okay? So, shift the blame. Pass the buck. Not to the rabbi, yeah.
What about that concept?
What? If you know he's making a mistake, you can't follow him. But you don't have to check whether he's making a mistake or not. If you know the certain hechsher is no good, right? Like the hechsher on Dunkin' Donuts, which serve ham, right? So the...
Those are not good?
The one who wants to serve ham?
No, the one on the throughway.
Yes.
Has a hechsher.
The donuts are good, right?
What?
The donuts are good.
I don't think you can buy donuts in a place which sells ham sandwiches.
Those are good, right?
They're very makpid on that, right? There's very shkiach tmidi. Yeah. Okay. Let's we're gonna have to continue tomorrow, but let's finish these paragraphs. Anyone who's about tshuva, one whose parents are not religious, and they themselves do not adhere to Minhagim Psakim. Oh, we did it. Sorry, we finished the paragraph. I have heard this before. The psak about tshuva has the ability to choose Minhagim wishes to follow. I can even mix it up and pick Minhagim from different edot as he pleases. I have also heard the competing psak about tshuva must figure out where his parents, grandparents, etc. hail from and follow the corresponding set of Minhagim. Namely, if from Hasidic shtetls he must follow the Minhagim Hasidim, if Litvish then he must do that, if Sfard, etc. This is the first time I have heard this competing psak, that Bali Teshuvah must keep Minhagi Sfard.
I've heard a few different rabbis have this psak.
Which one?
That if you're going to be living in Israel,
You have to become a Sephardi.
yeah, I've heard from at least 3
A
different.
lot of Sephardi rabbis have told you.
Wait, what, I mean,
No, I'm saying not. I've
No
never.
Ashkenazi rabbi has told you.
No,
this.
I'm saying, but I've never heard it from a rabbi in America. I've always heard it from like.
By the way, Rav Moshe Feinstein holds, if you were davening Nusach Sfard, not the Chassid, not the Edot HaMizrach, Chassidim Nusach Sfard.
Oh, you can switch to Ashkenaz.
He says it's switched to Ashkenaz because it's just a mistake.
It's not a real nusach.
The Chassidim Nusach, yeah.
another question I have.
What do you mean it's a mistake?
The bullshit.
The Rebbes, they listen. I don't want to take sides here. I don't want to get stoned. But the Rebbes, the early Rebbes, just picked and chose some stuff from the Edot HaMizrach because they knew that Ridab and Edot HaMizrach, and they retained other stuff from Ashkenaz, and they would have mushed it together.
What about Nusach
This Charizah is Chabad's version. It's just Chabad's version.
But is there also like pick and choose, or is there actually some basis to it?
It's also pick and choose. The Baal Tani picked and chose. So he's considered to be a big gun. So they assume that his picking and choosing was, special. I don't know.
So you can be Ashkenaz and choose to eat kidneys.
Let's make it sure.
No, only a Baal Tshuva. Yeah.
But and he can be Ashkenaz and.
He hasn't had a.
Yeah.
But are there any Ashkenaz
He's a heterodox.
heterodox? That's not interesting at the same time.
Yeah.
Scandalous. What is a heterodox?
Like heterosexual is a hetero-orthodox. He has more than one orthodoxy.
Or he uses heter.
Confusing with homo. Homo.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I were to move to Israel, according to these Vin, would I stop being Persian and start being a non-denominational Sephardi?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that what they're suggesting?
Yep.
They're suggesting it basically like non-denominational type Sephardi.
See, things like this. Rav Avadi would also hold that within Sephardi you get to choose.
Really? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, he would say that. He wouldn't say you have to become a generic Sephardi.
Wait, so I can become like Turkish?
Yeah. As long as you take some Sephardi thing, he'd tell you.
I mean, he's taking it from a very, very like Sephardi-centric vehicle.
No kidding.
I kind of have a problem with this then, because wasn't it the Turks that were they just all Turkish Jews that were living there before the men?
No, but the Turks, when it's the Ottomans, let's go back in history.
Okay, so right, so
When the Ottomans ruled, the Ottomans ruled a whole bunch of different countries: Iraq and Jordan and Egypt, and you had many different Turkish Minhagim under the Ottoman Empire. Basically, what it's doing is going back to Ottoman law. Yes, like but we're saying there were many Ottoman laws.
But if I
There
were
was always such guys.
I mean, the
Wait,
Stam Turkish is like this Portuguese Ladino.
But the Stam Turkish never hit Eretz Yisrael en masse anyway.
Okay. So you wouldn't revert back to Ottoman rule. Okay.
The big Joseph, he lived in.
But he wasn't Turkish.
He ended up in. Yeah, he did.
He was Casanova.
But the Egyptians who moved there to Yisrael maintained the Egyptian. You know, again, I've never seen Rav Avadia say within Spartism itself that there's a specific.
He's been trying to make the universal Yerushalmi, the monolithic, Spartic.
That's what Rabbi Hakim does.
Yeah, Rabbi Hakim follows this very strongly. It's like monolithic, Spartic.
If I were to decide that I can eat kidneys, would they eat my home? If I were to not serve them kidneys, would they still eat my home?
This is
probably.
the Daria now.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't be like, he eats kidneys.
They might, but that's only if they try. If they know you, they probably would eat that. If they don't know you, they'd say,
Do you want to do one more time in Daria?
Yeah,
No, being serious.
not at night.
I would serve.
Don't do it at night except with Torah.
come to our house.
It's like it didn't tell you.
Real matzah.
Okay, Rabbi say so. We'll continue with this tomorrow night. You can either give me back the papers or you can give it yourself. You can either bring it back or I'll bring it back.
I'm ready.